When it comes to dating, many guys are dishonest with their true intentions. Whether we do it to get the girl to like us or whether we do it because we believe we're just good old solid dudes, being dishonest to our true intentions is actually a lose-lose approach when it comes to dating. And here's why we would be better off being upfront and transparent with our intent. Imagine this. You see a girl and you are interested in her. You try to talk to her and you try to get to know her. You realize you only want to sleep with her and you don't want to get into a relationship. However, you treat her like how a boyfriend would treat her. You lead her on to believe that that is the direction you guys are headed in and that you are boyfriend material. And eventually you expect sex. She denies you, however, when she finds out that you only want sex. Now also imagine this. You are in a committed relationship, but you feel like you don't have as much sex as you would want. However, you never express this concern to your partner, and instead, you break your back doing things that you feel like would please your partner, would satisfy your partner. So, you end up doing things like chores around the house, cleaning, buying your partner food and gifts. However, the sex life has not changed, even with your increased effort, and therefore you feel frustrated, sexually or not. So, what's the common denominator here? You wanted something, however, you never explicitly expressed that to the other person. And instead, you chose to do things that you feel like would please your partner in hopes that they would return some sort of favor back to you. In this example, sex. So after spending all this time and energy invested into pleasing this other person, you still don't get what you wanted in the first place. And you feel frustrated. So why is hiding your intentions a bad idea when it comes to dating? The first reason is that you are not honoring your true desires. If you want a certain thing from a person or from a relationship, yet you act and try to please and satisfy the other person, even though it might not be something that you necessarily want to do, but you do it anyway because in your mind, you're thinking, well, if I do this, this, and this, I will satisfy the other person, and therefore I should get back what I initially wanted, right? So not only are you hiding and not honoring your desires by being upfront about them, you also end up, doing these little things that you might not want to do, right? Like if you didn't want to clean the house, but you do it because you expect sex in return or something, then you are not honoring yourself. The second reason why hiding your intention is a bad idea is that you start to act needy and entitled in that relationship. When you start hiding your intention and start doing things that you might not necessarily want to do, but you do anyway because you expect something in return, you're eventually gonna start feeling like you're entitled to certain responses or certain outcomes, right? So in this example, it would be sex, right? In your mind, it's easy to start thinking things like, well, I did this, this, and this, so therefore I should, get this in return, right? Well, no. It's in that other person's mind, because your intent was never made clear, they could very well just be thinking you're doing it because that's what you wanted to do, right? But in your mind, you're doing it because you're expecting something in return. So it kind of becomes like a business transaction. And when you end up not getting what you want, then you start feeling entitled to, certain outcomes. And you really can't blame the other person for not meeting your expectations. People are not mind readers. So for you to do certain things and expect, what you initially wanted without actually ever telling them what you wanted, people are not mind readers. And the third reason why it's a bad idea to hide your intention is simply the fact that you will be wasting a lot of time. Like, just imagine you spending all this time and energy and effort into, a certain relationship or, for a certain person, but you ultimately wanted one thing, right? So like we said in our example of sex, if you only ultimately wanted sex and you did all these things, you broke your back for this person and they never gave you what you wanted, you just wasted a lot of time because you were not clear in your intention and you did not communicate that to them. Imagine if in the very early stages of this relationship, whatever that is, you were upfront and just say, hey, I'm not looking to get into a relationship. I'm only interested in you sexually. So where do you stand? It can only go one of two ways. It's either, yes, let's move forward, or no, I can't do that. So take that versus, I'm going to hide my intentions. I'm going to spend all this time and energy and effort. And in the end, I should be getting what I want, right? Well, if you don't, then you just wasted a shitload of time that you did not have to waste. Hey. So really the main takeaway here is, at the end of the day, life is precious. Why choose to get into a relationship where you feel like you have to hide your wants and desires or have these self-imposed limitations? Because ultimately, these things are self-imposed. We put it upon ourselves when we choose to be transparent or not be transparent. Like, we shouldn't feel like we have to check off all these boxes and requirements before getting what we want. Like, obviously, things matter. Like, the other person's got to trust you. You guys got to have rapport, attraction, and all of that. I'm not saying that doesn't matter, but I'm saying it doesn't need to be harder than it needs to be. Like, we don't have to be going around in circles and breaking our backs and, trying to beat around the bush just to get what we want or don't want, right? Because, there are certain things that we want and there are certain non-negotiables that would be deal breakers in a relationship. And just FYI, everything that I'm speaking about, it is still very much a learning process for myself, because I am guilty of doing all these things that I've listed. And these are all things that I am becoming very aware of and I am working actively to overcome, because the vision I have for myself is to be a upfront and transparent person. Because if I'm not in alignment with myself, then who would be? No one's gonna be honest for me. Like, I can be the only person that's honest to myself. And I do believe that when we choose to be upfront and transparent about what we want and don't want, there will be a lot less stress and anxiety and overthinking, when we choose to not hide. And when we are transparent about our intentions, and if the other person is aligned, then great, we can move forward, right? If they are not aligned, then we can find a compromise. And if they're really not aligned, then we go our separate ways. But just imagine how much time and energy you can save just up front And did I mention stress already? I'm pretty sure I did. But I hope you guys got value out of this, and I will see you in the next one.